Rocket Man Mike coming at you today. Look at this fucking weather, man. Holy shit. And you know what? Quite honestly, I don't know what's pissing me off more. The bad weather or the fucking traffic. Holy shit. Alright, I'll run my ass over. Anyway. Coming to you from the Interstate 10 corridor of Houston, Texas in the middle of a storm. Man, I packed the wrong fucking gloves and my freaking fingers are freezing. But I got the rubbers on, so I'm dry underneath all this, but a lot of good it does you when your fucking hands are 2 blocks of ice. On my Triumph Rocket. I thought I'd talk to you guys about a subject today. Let me know what you think. Although it should be about motorcycle tires, because let me tell you something, I got a Shinko on the front end of this thing I just put on. I think the tread pattern's backwards or something, because I'm telling you, I am fucking sliding all over the place with this front tire. Back tire, BF Goodrich is good, but this front tire is a mess. Anyway, hey man, what do you guys think about video games? I love them, always have, always will. Not much of a gamer today, you know, with the headset and people talking to each other, yelling, forming teams, fucking each other over, that kind of stuff. That's a little bit too much. Although I gotta admit, I really like Grand Theft Auto. But other than that, I wanted your opinion on which video games were better. Video games of the 80s, the 90s, or what I would consider modern video games today. You know, back in the 80s, the whole video game concept was new. It was something different. The majority of us kids that grew up and spent our formative years in the 70s and 80s, man, we still played outside for fun. You know, built forts, threw rocks at each other, you know, lit bonfires, spent the night outside all the time. That was the fun stuff. Video games came along, like the Atari, the Intellivision, Sega came along a little bit later. Started pulling us in from playing outside all the time and started gathering us around our little TV sets, which were all pieces of junk back then. You know, and it kind of took us away from our cable television, because back then, you know, we only had, I think it started off with like 8 channels, and then I remember when we had 13 channels. That was the shit, man. Cable TV with 13 stations. Man, it was like, oh, hell, man, this is the shit. We have HBO, but just one HBO. We didn't have many. But the day was definitely different back then, and so were video games. But I don't know, man. I mean, I have to say, if I had to sit and choose, not just because I'm partial to that time period, I would have to say that video games from back then were just so much better. And the reason that I say that they're better is it seemed to me the variety was just better. I mean, today's video games, although, you know, one's a real person shooting game, and one's a hunting game, and one's, you know, you're building shit, fighting off monsters. They all seem to have kind of the same motif to me. I mean, it's like everything has levels. You fight the big monster at the end, beat the monster at the end, and then, hey, move on to the next level. Then you put it on easy mode. you know, reset it every time you die. It saves you on a certain part on your level, and within 30 days you've done beat the game. What fun is that, man? Seriously. But we didn't have reset buttons and all that kind of stuff. You either built up lives so that you can keep going, or you started from the beginning, man. A little bit more challenging. And quite frankly, even with today's video games, I never put it on the easiest mode because I want the game to be fun and challenging. I don't think they're designed to be played on those easy modes all the time. But I do got to give props out to Grand Theft Auto. I absolutely love that game. I mean, there's just so many different things to do. You know, and I like going into that mode. I don't know what it's called, where you're just blowing shit up and throwing grenades, and you get to choose what kind of character you want to be. Yeah, and I really like that stuff. But all the rest of the games, like I got a brand new Xbox One. The games really haven't turned me on much. They're just not that exciting for me because it seems like it's just the same thing but with different shit. You know, and maybe it's just me and I'm expecting something different with all the new graphics and the new computing power of these consoles that people play with. But to me, it reminds me of the, I don't know if anybody out there, you YouTubers, remember the original Zelda game? Where it was like very clear levels and a boss and levels and a boss and levels. Zelda was like one of the first games where you actually had that kind of setup, and I remember my dad was just fucking hooked on it like crazy. But that's what it reminds me of. Today's games are all like complicated versions of Zelda, except one may have guns, one may have bows and arrows, one you're an assassin, and another one you're a god of war, and you know, you get the picture. Back in like the 80s, you know, we had things like Missile Command, Space Invaders, Galaga, Defender, Tempest, you know, even that fucking stupid game where you're riding around on an ostrich, you know, jousting each other. I think it was called Joust, now that I think about it. And those were cool games. Those were not only cool, but they were incredibly original. Games nobody would have even thought of. So when you first saw it, you were like, what the hell is this? And yes, you know, for you trollers, yes, there were levels, and, you know, levels that we had to beat to move on to the next whatever. But it just, I don't know, maybe it was because I was a kid. It just seemed so much more exciting. And don't get me wrong, I see the kids down at GameStop. I made the mistake of going to GameStop the day after Christmas to exchange some Xbox One games and to see what was out. Man, that was a mistake from hell. I was stuck in that fucking store for hours. Let me tell you though, I saw how excited everybody was. I mean, so there's definitely a buzz on today's video games. But man, they're beat within a month. I mean, you got these things beat 30 days later, you're pissed off, you want to get rid of the game, you're mad that they only give you $5 for it at GameStop, and you're moving on to something else. But in all seriousness, man, what do you expect? These little kids, like I said, put it on the easy mode, knock the shit out of it, because they want to see what the next creature or boss or level looks like, and then it's done. That's why I think the games that are really fun are the games that have multiple players, where it's people, maybe a common objective, maybe a little strategy involved on how you're going to tackle a certain obstacle or a certain enemy to get where you need to be to destroy that enemy or move on. Because I think after the 80s, music went downhill, entertainment went downhill. It became a lot more commonplace. It became cheaper, and it became, I mean, a new song comes out, it's nothing to just torrent it offline. You know, if I could say one thing, and I'm not dogging torrents, and I'm not dogging anything like that, hey, everybody You know, not everybody can afford $18, $20 for that new CD or new song or new album. But I will say that because things are so much cheaper and readily available, big record companies are gone, I do believe that some magic is lost. You know, we've lost that magic in the games, we've lost that magic in music, we've lost that magic in our entertainment. Because of the fact that we were so limited in how we were going to listen to something or see something, you worked hard to get the cash to be able to go and enjoy that movie or enjoy that album put out by Cheap Trick or Metallica or, you know, Aerosmith. You know, I mean, it made the music more magicable by making it more unattainable. That's just my opinion. Of course, you guys can always let me know what you think. So, I mean, just think about it. I mean, I think we should go back to the way it was. Hey, I torrent shit too sometimes. Used to, anyway. But I think if we don't make it the way it used to be, the magic's never going to come back. And you guys are going to really miss out on some special stuff. Special moments. That's why video games from the 80s, I think were a lot more fun, a lot more original, a lot more magical than video games today. Because maybe at our generation, we just appreciated them more. Well, anyway, please like and subscribe my videos. Let me know what you think. I love comments, questions, things to talk about. We'll respond. I'm just starting this out, so I don't have a lot of videos yet on my channel, but there are more to come. This is Rocket Man Mike coming at you from Houston, Texas. Bad weather off of Interstate 10 at about 6 p.m. Bad traffic as always. You guys all take care. I'll see you later.